produced by an independent community producer. The opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of the QATV staff or board of directors. QATV, in compliance with FCC regulations, is prohibited from exercising control over the content of independent, member-produced public access programming.
Welcome to Stay Focus. Our topic is VA loans. With me here today is Nathan Hartseil. He is the VA specialist with First Home Mortgage, and he's here today to share his expertise about VA loans and also what's required to qualify for the VA loans. Welcome.
Thanks, Calvin. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. And so you are a specialist with VA loans. So what is a VA loan?
A VA loan is a mortgage loan that is backed by the Veterans Administration.
Mm-hmm.
It's a loan in the United States that certain approved lenders are granted the authority to lend upon.
Mm-hmm. I see. And in terms of eligibility, who are qualified or eligible for this type of program?
Eligible candidates for a Veterans Administration loan would consist of any active duty, retired or disabled military personnel of any of the branches of service who have served the minimum criteria of days active or reservist in the U.S. military according to their guidelines and have a certificate of eligibility letter.
So in terms of like veterans who might want to get pre-approved, so what should they do first, and what is the process?
Okay, that's a great question, Calvin. The process would start with contacting a mortgage broker or direct lender as myself, or obtaining directly online through the VA portal your certificate of eligibility for a Veterans Administration loan. Likewise, a lender, a bank, can also obtain this letter for you from the Veterans Administration, and this will determine your VA guarantee fee also and your eligibility for the program. There are different types of Veterans Administration loans. Mm-hmm. Your normal Veterans Administration loan, and the benefit of it is it's 100% financing. There's two different types of lenders. There's a Veterans Administration preferred lender and just a regular VA lender. And these are some things you'll want to check into before applying. VA preferred lender can be a more streamlined process of a loan because it does not have to go to the Veterans Administration, their Board of Reviews for approval. They are granted at their own discretion to fund upon the loan without sending it to the Veterans Administration for prior approval. The different types of loans are your normal purchase. You're going to buy a house. Mm-hmm. So you purchase a loan through the Veterans Administration guarantee program. You can also refinance your property. Now, new this year, which is really exciting, is the Veterans Administration. Not all lenders are offering it. Mm-hmm. We personally are offering this, is 100% cash out mm-hmm. on a refinance of your home. So what that means is you can actually take the equity out of your house up to 100% of what your home is worth and use that cash for home improvements, purchasing another property, mm-hmm.
whatever
it may be. There's also an interest rate reduction loan. This mm-hmm. is a streamlined process that does not require an appraisal. Mm-hmm. It does not require income verification. Mm-hmm. What this does is if you currently have a Veterans Administration loan and the rates have fallen like they have recently, and towards the end of last year. This will reduce your interest rate without going through all the hassles of a normal loan. And your guarantee fee is only a 0.5% to do an interest rate reduction loan. They will verify your mortgage history, obviously, to make sure you've been paying your mortgage on time. But these are pretty much your different types of VA loans that are offered.
It's great. It seems like there are a lot of great benefits,
Absolutely.
if you will. So yeah, and I mean, if I have served, my country, I mean, I wouldn't miss this type of program, and want to take advantage of it.
Well, I have myself, Calvin, and I
Yeah.
use the Veterans Administration
That's great.
loan.
Yeah. Well, thank you for serving.
Thank you.
With that being said, now since we mentioned about certain benefits for the VA program, so can you share some of the benefits, if you will, and could you please explain the text on the screen?
Absolutely. Equal opportunity for all qualified veterans to obtain a VA loan. Reusable. Yes, it is reusable. We call this subsequent use. First-time eligibility for the Veterans Administration. If you're not a disabled veteran and you're just a regular honorably discharged veteran, your normal first-time use is on your guarantee fee is going to be 2.15%. The difference is, yes, it is reusable. Once you repay your loan back to the VA, your eligibility becomes 100% again through the Veterans Administration, which will allow you to go out and purchase or utilize it for another transaction. Subsequent use would be the second time or third time that you use your VA eligibility, or on a normal refinance, not the interest rate reduction loan we talked about earlier, would be 3.3%. So it does have a disadvantage, but not so much as other programs that are out there.
Right.
No down payment unless required by the lender or the purchasing price is more than reasonable value of the property. No down payment is required, and you're right. As long as your appraised value is what is agreed upon for you to purchase the home. The VA, as well as any smart lender, is not going to let you overextend yourself or buy something that's not of value. And they're not going to lend you money to buy something that's not worth what you're paying for your protection and the lender's protection.
And there's no PMI as well, right?
No PMI, which is great. You do have your one-time guarantee fee, but no PMI for the life of the loan.
That's great. So some of the benefits that you have mentioned, I think, can be seen right here as well, right?
Absolutely. One-time VA funding fee that can be included in the loan. That's the great thing. The Veterans Administration allows you to go, we call it LTV, which means loan to value.
Yep.
It will allow you to go up to 103.3%, and that includes your VA funding fee. Like I said, the VA funding fee can be up to 3.3% in certain circumstances, such as subsequent use, and that's why they'll allow you to extend to that ratio.
Right. So the next question is that how to apply for a certificate of eligibility, and what evidence that a veteran who have served the country need to show?
Absolutely. It's very simple. Any veteran knows what a DD-214 is, and we'll usually have that readily available because everybody asks for a DD-214. DD-214 is pretty much all you need as long as you know your birth date and your social security number. The VA porthole, which you can find through Google or any of your search engines, will allow you to obtain this information on your own. But like I stated earlier, if you're working with somebody experienced who can really streamline your process, such as a bank lender or VA preferred lender, they're going to really direct you through the process. And my recommendation is find somebody who knows the process, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. It's going to make your process a lot less stressful.
Yeah, it's good to know. And in terms of the loan amounts, how high is the loan amount that each person might be qualified? And of course, each person is different.
Absolutely.
Based on their income or personal information or something like that.
Absolutely. VA uses a couple different methods in determining eligibility, but in accordance with their lending criteria, is a normal Veterans Administration loan will allow a buyer to purchase a home 100% up to $417,000. The VA also offers a program, it's called a VA Jumbo program, which allows a borrower at 100% financing to purchase a home up to $1 million with 100% financing. And remember, there's no mortgage insurance on these loans.
Yeah. So that's a great program.
Absolutely.
For veterans, of course. And so in terms of closing costs, I mean, I know that I think some VA programs might include free closing costs. So in this case, I mean, average-wise, I mean, what is the closing cost?
Average closing costs, obviously, we don't count escrows and things of that nature into the closing costs, but legal fees and lender's title insurance, which are going to be required on any transaction anymore. You can usually expect, a good rule of thumb is about 1%. For instance, a $300,000 loan would roughly be about $3,000 in total closing costs. Us as a lender, we usually have a $995 complete processing fee, which most lenders have. I've seen them range anywhere from $500 to $3,000. We waive that on VA loans also. So there's really not a lot of fees besides your normal attorney fees.
Right, except the escrow that they have to pay out of their own pockets.
Exactly.
Okay, so so basically, I think that's pretty reasonable.
Absolutely.
So I'm sure that people who might be looking into buying a home, they gotta have savings, in the bank account. Otherwise, it's gonna be tough to get a loan and also to buy a home as well. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. Right. So. With that being said, now in terms of the loan itself, there are some underwriting requirements. So if you could please share what are the underwriting requirements needed. So
sure will. Things that you'll want to gather when thinking about applying for a Veterans Administration loan. 2 years W-2s are always going to be required on the transaction. 2 months bank statements. Most lenders are going to require 2 months of your bank statements for a VA loan. Your certificate of eligibility will also be required for a Veterans Administration loan. We will do a verification of employment, so make sure you have a job.
That's important.
If you are self-employed, we are going to require, or most lenders in general will require, a 2-year self-employment track record, which will include business tax returns for self-employed. These are the basics that will really get you started. Everybody applying for any loan, no matter what type of loan it is, has some type of unique situation. There's no two people that are exactly the same.
That's right.
And underwriting is still common sense to some aspect.
Right.
So they will require things that make sense for your benefit to make sure that it's a smooth transaction and there's no issues.
Right. So in terms of the requirement, what if the person has subpar credit scores, if you will? Can the person still get the loan? Even though with high interest rate, maybe?
Very good question, and very tricky question, because according to the VA guidelines, there is no minimum credit score.
There's no minimum?
There is no minimum credit score according to the Veterans Administration. Now, the Veterans Administration is not lending you the money. They're putting a guarantee on it.
Right.
The bank or private mortgage company is lending you the money, and I would say a national average is a 620 FICO score to obtain a veterans loan.
So the minimum requirement for having a good credit scores is much lower than a regular home buyer, if you will.
Yes, and especially over, say, the last 3 years, with some recent changes and loosening of credit guidelines recently, we are seeing things come back into the market we haven't seen in quite some time.
Right, right. So the lenders have softened the guidelines, if you will.
They are.
Yeah,
They are.
Right, right. So they encourage more borrowings and also
Exactly.
increase home ownerships. Yeah, for veterans.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's good news, right?
Yes,
around.
it is. As long as 2007, 2008 doesn't happen again, we'll be happy.
That was passed. Yeah. So yeah. So for closing the loan, I mean, how long the average time that it must take? 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, 90 days?
Yes, and that's going to vary from lender to lender also. Have I seen Veterans Administration loans close in 30 days? Absolutely. I know we are an average of about 45 days. Some lenders out there I can't speak for. I've worked for various lenders. I've seen them take as long as 60 to 90 days. I would say a good average, expect 45 days.
And in terms of after the closing, let's say the homeowner has owned the home for maybe a year or 2 years, and for some reasons they run into financial hardships and cannot pay the loan. Can they seek help?
Absolutely. The VA is not out to see anybody lose their home. And after what has happened in the United States recent history here, lenders anymore are not out to take your home. The government has put strict regulation on all banks, including the VA, to set up programs to help people who have succumbed financial hardships, economy hardships, things of that nature. The VA is always going to recommend going to your lender first, because they know the lender and the servicing companies have structure in place to help these people first and foremost. If you do feel like you're not getting the help you deserve from them, all of the Veterans Administration regional loan centers have technicians, or what they're called, specifically assigned to assist you no matter what your problem may be with the lender, with the mortgage, with hardship. And they recommend that, obviously, as a last resort, but it's always open for anybody to contact.
That's good to know. So now, I would assume that VA loan might be a little bit different than a conventional loan, if you will. So what if the borrower who closed their loan and within the next 2 or 3 years and they come to the lender and say, Mr. Lender, or I'd like to pay that off, pay my mortgage off in advance, a lump sum. So would there be any prepayment penalties?
No, there are not. And surprisingly, prepayment penalties, for the most part, went away quite some time ago. Not that there's not loans out there. A lot of home equity lines and things like that will have prepayment penalties on them. The veterans loans do not have any prepayment penalties. So day 1, day 2 after closing, you hit the lottery, go pay off your home. There's no penalty.
That's great,
Exactly.
Yeah, so in terms of assumable, I mean, would the loan be able to assume by the lender?
Yes, assumable loans were common. It's probably before my time.
Oh, interesting.
And the VA loans are one of the very, very few and far between loans left that are an assumable loan. Are they used a lot? Not so much, but I can give you an example of an assumable loan to where it may make sense to you. Say the interest rate right now is at a 3.25% veterans loan, okay? And I have a veterans loan at 3.25%, and I've had the 3.25% for 10 years. Okay, and we're 10 years down the line, and you, Calvin, want to come buy my home, but interest rates have rose to 8%. And you go to apply for your VA loan, and they're telling you your interest rate's going to be 8%. Say my loan is, or say my home is worth $400,000, and I'm selling it to you for $500,000. Okay, you can actually give me $100,000, assume my $400,000 debt on the home at my 3.3% or 3.25% interest rate. So you just saved yourself a lot in interest over the term of the loan. And I would say that's probably a common example of when it's used, besides family members, brother to brothers,
Right,
veterans, something like that.
So when you say the 400,000 is assumable, so what about the 100,000?
That would
be in
have to
cash?
be, well, yes, that would have to be,
In cash.
you know, cash or
see.
gift.
Or gifts, okay, yeah.
Something of that nature.
So you cannot borrow?
It can be worked around.
Okay.
No, you cannot borrow.
Oh, okay. So
Because the VA is still going to fund 100% of
okay. So
your...
it has to be in personal asset.
Exactly.
I see. Got it. So yeah. I mean, it's still good though because
Exactly,
low
just
interest
trying
rate.
to show the benefit of it.
And in terms of the loan itself, I mean, all the term and conditions cannot be changed.
No,
No, they all stay the same.
correct, because you're actually assuming that.
Assuming the loan. Okay, got it. So, so for a normal homeowner, if you will, now if they need funding to improve their homes, can they borrow extra from their loan?
You can, and to be honest with you, I'm not 100% familiar. We do not offer those. I know for a little while, and I'm not sure if the VA still is offering them, but they offered up to, I believe, $6,000 above and beyond your loan amount for energy efficient improvements. And the research I've done, you know, not to speak for all lenders, but a lot of your major lenders out there do not offer you know, financing above or second type mortgages through the Veterans Administration.
Right. So therefore, so this is when they still have the loan, right? And
Yes.
if they want to borrow more to improve their homes, so do they have to do an appraisal and look at the home equity and also
I
their
understand your
income guidelines?
question
Yeah,
now.
yeah. Right.
What you would do, don't forget, we have a refinance, cash
Ah,
out, which
okay,
will still allow them to pull up to 100%
I
equity
see.
out of their property, so they
Right.
can use that for whatever they'd like, including home improvements.
I
Now,
see.
the interest rate reduction loan that we spoke of earlier would not work because that would just be for the amount to pay off your existing mortgage, because it's a VA transaction to a VA transaction, plus your 0.5% guarantee fee.
So this is another new set of questions that now for a VA or veteran, if you will, do you have to serve for a number of years, and also in what class of services that you might?
Great question. I wish
to
I
have.
wish I could give you in detail.
Right. You don't have to, just
it
general.
actually
Yeah.
goes back to the Korean War days,
Yeah.
World War II days,
Or the Vietnam War.
and there's different
Yeah.
days of
Yeah.
actual service.
I see.
Some may go back
Interesting.
to World War II where you only needed 60 days of service. Some may be 120 days of service. Some
Right.
may be a 4-year honorable discharge, and then once you get into National Guard or reservist, it even changes, and the guarantee changes a little bit. For
Right.
example, National Guard or reserves may have an upfront guarantee fee to 2.4%.
Right, I see. So 2.4% interest rate.
No, that's
Oh.
your guarantee fee up front.
Oh, guarantee fee up front. Okay, so how does that work? I'm sorry. I mean, so
The guarantee fee,
is that coming from the vet, or is it coming
well, you
from?
can pay it in cash,
Right,
but the
right.
VA, the reason they allow you to finance up to 103.3%
103.
loan to value is
Right.
in case you have a 3.3% guarantee fee. It's funded into the loan at their
Oh,
published
okay.
ultra low interest
I see.
rate.
Got it.
So sometimes it's better to finance it into the transaction.
Roll
It's not
into
like
it.
you have to come up with it. I guess a good comparison, and I don't want to directly compare it to mortgage insurance,
Right.
but it basically takes the place of like a mortgage insurance. If you're going to buy out mortgage insurance, you pay it up front. This is basically like buying out mortgage insurance.
I see. Got it. So it's still a good deal. Yeah.
It still is a good
Yeah,
deal.
right? So in terms of buying properties, are there any restrictions in certain areas that this loan might qualify for?
There's always restrictions with the VA, and I encourage people to check out their area. It would be impossible to know every area with the VA. The VA will fund condos, single-family residence, 2 to 4 units. So you can buy an owner-occupied, as long as you're going to live in it and you're going to occupy the property within, depending on lender, usually about 60 days.
Right.
You can buy a 4-family property, rent out 3 of them as income producing, and live in the other. Which is a great route to take. Condominiums do have to be approved through the VA. It's a process that your lender will facilitate for you. They can take some time pending on the lender. And there's also another topic I'd like to touch on briefly is the VA usually requires to be a husband and wife, a spouse, a husband and husband, whatever it may be, to go onto the loan. Not all lenders require that. Actually, we allow a boyfriend-girlfriend as long as one is eligible on the loan, but it does take separate VA approval. It can take a couple weeks, it can take a month to obtain this approval.
I see. So for condos, for a conventional loan, let's say, it might be different than VA loan. So what if the condo falls below like 50% of owner occupancy? Does that?
That is also going to be a, it's tough. That's going to be a lender call on that.
Okay. Got it.
You know, a lot of VA is based off Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac guidelines. And those can really walk a fine line too. Do you get a limited review, a full review, underwriter discretion? Obviously, every lender likes to see owner occupancy above 51%.
I see. So therefore, it all depends. If another loan is not related to VA loan, is called unwarrantable loan.
Yes.
So yeah, that's for condos who fall below 50% of owner occupancy.
I've never heard of a VA loan being done in a condo that is a non-warrantable. Usually a non-warrantable will have commercial influence or a deed-restricted property. There's something on the deed that makes it deed-restricted property. You know, there are specialty lenders out there for this, not to say that the VA doesn't guarantee them. I know any of the lenders I've worked for does not extend themselves to lend on those, but I can't say if they're out there or not.
Right. So, well, the best thing to do is, first of all, is to consult a specialist like yourself.
Absolutely. And if I don't know the answer, I'll find it for you.
I'm sure you will. and find out more detail about the requirements and also certain guidelines that might fit their eligibility into qualifying the VA loan. So yeah. So what other hints or tips that you like to share with qualified people such as like veterans, stuff like that?
Great question. We went over quite a bit here today.
Yeah, we did.
But just be prepared. Home buying in general can be very stressful.
Yes.
Especially for the non-experienced or first-time home buyer.
That's right.
Find a specialist. People are here out there to help you, to hold your hand through this process. It's worth seeking out that help. In the past, people were very skeptical. If I hire somebody, it's going to cost me money. It's not like that anymore. There's so much government regulation, and in general, the market, the banks, the lenders, mortgage brokers, loan originators, they're out to help you. And there's no fee gouging like there was in the past. Everything is federally regulated now.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being here. And I believe that the information that you just shared is very helpful to people who are veterans who are looking to own properties.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure they know how to find you. So
thank you for having me, Calvin.
Thank you. Yeah. With that being said, to all the men and women out there who serve our country, I want to say thank you, and you have made us proud. And therefore, without your sacrifices, there wouldn't be any freedom. When it comes to planning on owning a home, it is important to consult with a specialist who specializes in VA loans, as it is different than conventional loan due to limited and restricted guidelines must be met and followed. You have to be a veteran to qualify, as you are in a unique situation in terms of getting the VA loan and also buying a property. There are special benefits and advantages for your case when it comes to getting financing and buying a home in comparison to a regular home buyer. I want to thank you so much for watching, and thank you for being part of the show.